My essay was concerned with how the advent of the digital era has affected photography. First of all, I think before we can even get anywhere close to understand how digital has affected images, we have to think about context and currency. If we take a normal passport photograph, for example, we can see how any change in the context changes how we actually see the image. If we see the passport image on a passport, then it's obviously for a form of identification. If we see it in a wallet, we may understand that it's a reminder of a loved one. If we see it accompanied with text, the text explains the image, it anchors it. If we were to see the exact same image again on a gallery wall, it becomes something else. With each shift in context, how we, the viewer, read the image changes completely depending on where we encounter it. On top of context, there's an idea of currency. This refers to when an image is viewed. If we see this image, for example, in 2003, we may believe it. 2009, it seems ironic. If we see this image in the year 2000, it means not too much. But what changes here is us. Because of what we have gone through as human beings, as people, we know through hindsight what will happen. So as such, we view images that were taken before any such events with a hindsight. Afterwards, we may read an image in a completely different light. If we see Lower Manhattan without the World Trade Centers, somehow their absence speaks of a presence. Marcia Sturgeon explains, their absence spoke more profoundly than their presence ever could. Do you look at the skyline now as they experience the shock of absence? All images of the towers have taken on a poignancy that was, before September 11th, unimaginable. In other words, how a viewer understands an image is to do with a combination of history and personal interpretation. I want to refer to this as ideoocular. By that I mean that each person sees an image and understands it, but how it's understood is devised not because of your own personal subjectivity, but because of the culture to which you're exposed. If we take something as common as football, to say this in Britain and Ireland, it means soccer. In North America, it means something very different. In the Republic of Ireland, it means something very different again, and in Australia, it's different. Although we might have shared experiences of the notion of football, or something that common, what we must be aware of that it's not a personal interpretation. As Morris Habelbach explains, we understand photographs not in one's own grey matter, but via shared consciousness that is modelled by the agenda of those invoking the present. In other words, when we view an image, we don't view it in isolation, we don't view it just according to our own personal preferences. The society, the shared culture in which we live, helps define how we read and understand images. Our politics, our sex, our age, our gender, all go towards affecting how we view and read an image. So this is what I mean when I say ideoocular. Ideoocularism, however, would be open to shifts. If I propose this scenario, an Irish nationalist and a unionist look at these images, they would both agree that British troops fighting the evil of Nazism, World War II, is good. It's completely justified, the right actions to take. If, however, the same two men looked at images of the British Army in the streets of Northern Ireland, they would have very different opinions. These opinions would be not based on the depicted content of the photographs, however, but rather a preconceived notion or a preformed idea based on their shared experience and cultural background. What decides what the image means for them is not the photograph, but their cultural histories. So in short, regardless of what the photograph shows, how it will be viewed is dependent on your own ideoocular circumstance.